Hello, everybody. Welcome back to youtube.com/geekloud for another Let's Discuss with Steve. And today we're talking about the next-gen consoles 6 months in. It's been a pretty interesting 6 months.
It's been very interesting to say the least.
Now, we've got a list here together. We'll just run it around from November. Of course, we had both consoles launching. Of note, the Xbox Series X launched with the 1 terabyte internal, and it had the expansion card from day one.
Yes.
Double that. It's been huge. On PlayStation, I've constantly been deleting games and reinstalling.
I haven't stopped deleting stuff off that PlayStation 5. So
in Xbox land, it's been really minor. There's still a little bit of management, but it's so minor.
Yes, very minor.
Not even consequential. So that was huge. And the other big one for November on the launch was the DualSense 5 launching. Just look back at this channel to see how taken, specifically I was with it. I was over the moon with it. You were pretty favourable.
I was pretty favourable of it as well, yeah. I mean, it was one of the brand shiny things the console had to offer at the time. It had sort of new games as well, but everyone was about that DualSense controller. So
100% the number one cheerleader for it.
So you were interested to see later how Troy's tune might have changed on the controller a little bit.
Oh yes, indeed it has. But that was very notable back in November, and then rolling into December, the first big move we had by PlayStation was a Bugsnax launched day and date on PS Plus. That was the first time that we had that exclusive.
It was. That's
offered.
right. I know. Then obviously that All Stars was it Destruction All Stars.
Destruction All Stars rolled out in February.
Was supposed to be a launch title. Obviously,
yes.
That didn't happen. But I think a great move they did to go to PlayStation Plus. The game itself, I personally not a big fan of it. So when it comes to free games on my consoles, I'm looking towards the Xbox side at the moment. We'll talk about Game Pass in a sec. I mean, good offering a game for free, but if the games aren't great, then how good's your service really?
Yeah, a good attempt, but I think that was a swing and a miss on that one. And then rolling into February, PlayStation coming out with another big swing on the PS Plus was Control Ultimate Edition. I platinumed that game. I loved it so much.
As did I.
That was a phenomenal tip of the cap to Sony on that one. They nailed that.
Very good experience. I'd already played that game before, and I wanted to go through that game again. And obviously, Troy getting the platinum, I was like, lay down the challenge for me. I couldn't let the only member of Geekland here. It had to be both of us. So I went through and did that as well. So great experience.
The challenge is out to all you in the community as well. Show us those platinums. And then we had also in February, Destruction's All-Star. That was also a day and date launch on PS Plus.
It was.
And if you saw my attempt on the channel, I played it for about 15 minutes and promptly deleted it.
Troy probably lasted 3 minutes longer than I did. At about 12 solid minutes of game over before that was gone off the console because, again, no storage space, especially for games of that colour.
Yeah, that's a great point you raise. It is that limited storage space really does change the value, the way you look at the games. It's Destruction All-Stars probably would have stayed on the Xbox an extra month just because real estate isn't so tight.
And on the opposite side, you've got the Xbox that launched with that extra hard drive space and Game Pass, which is, without that extra storage space, the Game Pass thing probably wouldn't be as good a service.
It wouldn't.
It's the fact that you can download all these games. They don't cost you any extra other than that subscription cost, and you've got the hard drive space to put it on, or you can expand that hard drive space.
And you can do the USB, can't you?
Yes.
With the older games.
Yes. So there's so many more options on the Xbox when it comes to, breadth of games, library of games, and then the storage space to actually put them on there, which is currently in this next gen, I think Xbox has the head in that kind of
definitely. No question. And we're also seeing, with this data management, constantly deleting, re-downloading, we're seeing the real impact of how much you pay for your broadband each month really does impact how many games you're prepared to try, your online experience is.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so dependent now on a third-party system. Microsoft have nothing to do with your ISP, and your individual ISP, what you pay for a month, will totally change the value proposition for Game Pass and constantly downloading games. If you've got data caps or you've got a slow connection, you'll be way less inclined to just tear through that library.
That's right. So in that part, I think Xbox is ahead of the game at the moment.
Once again, Xbox there. Are you noticing a trend? And then what have we got in March? Now, March was a big one. March is when Xbox kicked down the front door and started swinging. We started with EA Play being the EA Play subscription being bundled into Game Pass. All the big sports games for each year.
Insane.
A huge value add. And once again, Microsoft's still charging you $1 for the Game Pass Ultimate.
That's right. And there's still rumours at the moment that Ubisoft might be joining Game Pass as well soon. So
if Ubisoft join Game Pass Ultimate, I will cease buying games. The last sale over Christmas, the only thing I bought were Ubisoft games to pad out the library on Xbox. And if they were included in Game Pass, I would have saved myself another couple $100. In March, what else do we have? And then, of course, the big Bethesda acquisition.
So while we're at it, we're going to have to probably take this bad boy over here.
Yeah,
that's our Pit-Boy. He can go on the Xbox side there because Xbox now owns you.
Indeed, he does.
And owns a lot more IP and stuff. And I mean, I was a sucker. As soon as they announced all the Bethesda and those games came to Game Pass, I downloaded Fallout 4, I downloaded Skyrim, I downloaded Fallout 76 to jump back into that. I was in that, and again, had the hard drive space to put on there because I had my expandable hard drive in there, and I've been enjoying those Bethesda games. And knowing what these games are going to come down in the future, Xbox is going to have a massive collection of games that Sony may or may not have.
And then they added, for the backwards compatibility side of it, they added the 128, what is it, the frame rate boost?
Yeah, 120 frames per second.
And what was it, the HDR, the auto HDR
as well. Yeah. And then you're getting the frames per second boost to games as well. So games like Fallout 4, Skyrim, Fallout 76.
Big Bethesda back catalogue we just talked about.
All been given 60 frame per second patches, which completely changes those games. I know even with Fallout 76 used to chug along on the Xbox One or the Xbox One X, and now it just runs flawlessly.
Yeah, and you can compare that directly too. You could get those Bethesda games on PS4 disc. You could install them on your PlayStation 5 and play them. And it's night and day difference.
Absolutely.
On the PlayStation 5, the old 30 frames a second, no HDR, Xbox Series X, HDR 60. It's night and day.
And then also on that, there's also the whole issue of save transfers on the PlayStation 5 compared to Xbox. Don't get me started how many times I've had to try and get a save from a PS4 game to a PS5. Last of Us 2 was a nightmare trying to get my save file across to my PS5. Eventually did, but it shouldn't be this hard.
And once again, that ties into the limited space, because I was deleting stuff so I could install the PS4 version of Tony Hawk's on my PS5 just to spit out that the save file, and then I deleted the PS4 version, installed the PS5, and then imported that save. It's crazy.
Yes.
Those data issues are not existent on Xbox.
That's right.
What are PlayStation doing?
And you've got Xbox Smart Delivery. If you've played, I had a Xbox 360 game the other day that I installed, again, because backwards compatibility, much better on Xbox's side at the moment.
Yep.
But my save file from my Xbox 360 days uploaded to my Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's
I didn't have to do anything.
Zero thinking required.
And that's across the board with all games. I just put it in, same as if I load up Xbox on my phone.
Yep.
Same thing. My save file carries over to my streaming of a game that I've got on my console. It's insane.
It's flawless. They, tip of the cap to them. They're flawless. And then in response, Sony in March fired up the Play at Home initiative. And they made 10 games available. They made 9 games available. I should say in March. But they were no big AAA heavy hitters. They were all indie titles, and I already owned half of them anyway.
That's right. I think that's a lot of things with the Sony games. Like they've given you these games in the PlayStation. What do they call them? The select PlayStation games that
PlayStation Hits.
PlayStation Hits. Yep. So they give you all these games, but realistically, most people buying PS5s owned a PS4 and have played all these flagship titles.
If they wanted it, they've already played
That's right. I mean, I might load one up just to see what it looks like with a slightly better frame rate. But at the end of the day, that might be, an hour session, 2 hour session. I've played it. It's going off my console again because I need the hard drive space for something new.
Yeah. That theme, I said there was a theme to this. Yeah. So then April rolls around. Microsoft again comes out firing, having Outriders launch day, Xbox Game Pass. AAA title I was already in for off the demo from 2 weeks or whatever before when they dropped the demo. Yep. I was 100% sold and prepared to give them my $100 day one. I was in. I was there.
Absolutely.
And then Microsoft, don't worry about it, mate. Keep your money. Thank you.
I know. Ridiculous. They'll get a brand new IP game that's, they've got no ties to the developer at all.
Yeah.
But they've said, no, you can have a game day one Game Pass. Whereas on the Sony side, you're paying $99.95 or even in some cases $109.95 for their, more expensive games these days. Yeah. So it's just insane to think that this can happen now.
The value proposition from PlayStation to Xbox, the scales are so heavily tilted in the other direction.
Absolutely.
It's mind-blowing. And then, of course, just this week, in April, MLB The Show added to Xbox Game Pass day one. MLB The Show created by Sony Santa Monica. An internal first-party studio made a game that was Xbox Game Pass.
And I can't tell you how it is to load that game up and see the Sony PlayStation Studios on an Xbox.
It's so wild.
If that's happening, what's next?
That is the sign of the future right there. That's it.
I don't think it's going to be long till we see Xbox Game Pass apps on TVs. You see Netflix and stuff, and you'll be able to literally stream games to your TV, plug your controller in. I think that's the future where Microsoft's sort of going towards.
Yeah, no question. They're absolutely making those moves. And then in response, you could say, I guess, PlayStation in April, the final move by the big boys here was offering Oddworld Soulstorm for free to PS Plus members in April.
That's probably one of the better ones I've seen.
It's a fantastic game. I'm a big fan.
Brand new game, PlayStation 5 game. Yeah. Is it on PS4 as well?
I think, yes, it is on PS4, but it wasn't free on PS4.
Gotcha.
They get the PS5 version away for free.
So to get a game like that on day one, brand new, that's sort of way PlayStation can probably move in the future.
Yeah.
I would like to see a game which comes out next week, Returnal, also be like that, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think it'll happen either. From a Sony corporate standpoint, they're not gamer friendly at the minute. They're not making gamer friendly moves. They're making new gamer acquisition moves.
Yeah.
Like, they are no longer talking to us hardcore gamers. They're not. They are talking to who's in the console market new, who's picking up a console for the first time. We want them to get a PlayStation 5, and they'll be impressed by the back catalogue of games that they haven't seen before.
And I think because PlayStation 4 got away with it, like, they were all about the games. They had the games. I mean, they still have the games, but a lot of this stuff is sequels to stuff we've already played.
Yes.
Where are their new IPs coming from? Who's making the IPs? I mean, you've got Naughty Dog, obviously, arguably one of the best developers out there.
Hands down.
Are they going to do something new? Maybe.
But how many years off is that?
Exactly right. That's at least 3 years, 4 years off before we get something like that. Whereas,
in a COVID world, I wouldn't even say that's true. I'd probably think 7 years is a reasonable expectation.
Quite possibly. I mean, I know there's stuff working in the background, but at the moment, all Sony seems to be offering is saying we've got these games. I mean, as you just said, in terms of the consumer friendliness, they've got all these big games, but they've said they're only going to focus on these big games now. They're not focused on the smaller games, which is, it's not great.
Yeah.
If all we're doing is waiting for these big flagship titles.
It's 2 games a year.
Am I playing everything else on my Xbox and then I'm waiting for something to come out on PlayStation to play it? Kind of like how Nintendo's always market themselves as I'll only play Mario games, Zelda games. That's what PlayStation could become if they're not careful.
Yeah, so that would be my advice to anyone out there looking to enter the new generation who hasn't put the money down yet. Go to Xbox. Xbox is where the gamer value is right now. Get the Xbox now, and in 2-3 years, when the PlayStation 5s come down in price to somewhere more reasonable, and then you've got, maybe 6 games from Sony first parties, exclusives, in a couple of years, that'll be a good value proposition. But for right now, I'm telling you, get an Xbox, get on Game Pass. That's where it is.
I mean, it might sound like we're sort of, putting PlayStation down at the moment, but it's just that Xbox is making so many pro gamer moves now.
That's the point of this list. Like, you've heard it.
Yeah.
Blow for blow.
That's right.
Xbox making huge acquisitions, making huge moves, huge pro gamer moves, and PlayStation just not firing back, or when they do, it's weak, lackluster.
That's right. And it's not even so much pro gamer, it's pro consumer. Like, people earn money. You've got to spend your money. Where are you going to spend your money that's the most value for you? And I can tell you right now, Game Pass, at how much is it a month? It's
$1 a month I've secured for
That's
the
right. You can do
$2
$1 a month at the moment you can get. And you've got a breadth of games. You've got brand new Xbox games coming day in, day out to Xbox Game Pass for free, essentially. You're not paying a cent for these brand new games. Sony, on the other hand, their first-party games, they've gone up in price.
And they're being delayed constantly.
That's right.
It's go to Xbox, get other games, included in this subscription. If you're on PlayStation, you're just waiting. Where are the games?
Right.
Where are the games?
That's right. I mean, this year we were still at Ratchet & Clank's out in June, which...
Apparently.
I
don't believe any release date.
We just don't know.
It's released this week, I do not believe release dates anymore.
But I mean, I'm looking forward to that game. I'm going to play that game. I'll have to pay full price for it.
Yep. Unless they suddenly come out of nowhere and do a pro gamer move. I'm not banking on it.
I'm not banking on it either. If I see that, I'd colour me shocked. I'd be impressed.
There was, one we did miss out of the list. It's just occurred to me, you were mentioning earlier that they've turned back on the PS3 and Vita stores. So that is pro gamer.
That is pro gamer.
Props for that.
That's right. I mean, have they done it because... the backlash, uproar. I don't know how many people were still griping that it was gone.
Yeah.
There was probably not too many, but...
I personally was worried. I went out, I spent $50 on the Vita store. I'm like, I better there's, games I haven't got there. I went out and lashed out and did a little splurge of
because I think Sony has been in the past, said they don't really care about their back catalogue.
Yeah.
And that was just another... sort of, thing on the fire to say, we don't care. PlayStation 3 Vita, it's dead.
Yep.
So to say that they do sort of, they have listened to the feedback and they're going to bring it back, and that's probably a good move. I do play a lot of back compact games on my Xbox. So if they're going to keep that sort of, the nostalgia alive with the PlayStation 3 games and Vita games, that's a good move.
Yeah.
And hopefully it means in the future they'll start to listen to some consumer stuff as well.
Hopefully. But meanwhile, we've got Phil Spencer playing games with the audience by putting decorations on display on his back shelf that mean everything. And the big one is the Kojima.
Hideo Kojima to Xbox.
What are we thinking? What's on the cards? When are they going to drop it, and what is the announcement?
So if you told me a year ago that Xbox was going to buy Bethesda, I would have said no. That's not a chance. Not a chance. So the fact that these rumors are circulating now about Xbox talking to Hideo Kojima to purchase Kojima Productions,
thanks. Bring that one over here.
You can go over there as well. What can we see? New Metal Gear. We've got potentially Death Stranding.
Imagine if Death Stranding comes to Xbox Game Pass.
What? And then you've got Kojima's new game that's exclusive to Xbox, or at least day in, day out Game Pass as well.
Oh, if Microsoft buy it, they'll be locking that up. That'll be an Xbox exclusive, and yet another reason that Xbox are just the console to get onto. If you haven't got on yet, if you've been standing aside and waiting to see which way the wind's blowing, I think it's been a pretty consistent breeze in one direction for months.
That's right. Because what's the one thing Xbox has never really had is a massive following in the Japan sort of market.
Yep.
How do you fix that?
Yeah, absolutely. There it is. Perfect. I love it. What do you guys think about it? What are your speculations? What are you looking forward to seeing? What will be the announcement? When will they announce it? When does the Kojima Xbox announcement drop?
That's E3.
E3,
sure.
You reckon?
For sure.
Yeah?
Yep.
And in what manner do you think? Is it because there's going to be no audience? That's confirmed. It's all digital.
That is true.
It's all online.
It is all digital.
So is it Kojima on a Microsoft Teams call with Phil?
Yeah, you can't bring him out on stage like they did with Keanu Reeves.
Although they bought Discord now. I guess it could be a Discord call.
It could be a Discord call, and it could just be them handing him an Xbox jacket, or Phil Spencer and him shaking hands together. Who knows what it is? But if that happens, the internet is going to go crazy.
Yeah, it'll be amazing to see. So that's the big play. I'm keen to see. I'm all eyes on it. Every morning I wake up, search news, Kojima. What's going on? And the other one we didn't touch on, my poor fingers. DualSense 5. It's seriously impacted my gaming sessions. I am now limited to 1 hour gaming stints on a PlayStation 5, the DualSense 5 specifically, and it's minor. One moment, please. I'm going to get a controller. Where is it? There's a DualSense 4 around here somewhere. Here we go. DualSense 4. Now, I know I am
DualShock 4.
I am forever calling the DualSense 5, and I'm getting these backwards. But if you look, it's the slight flick out here at the bottom of the hand where it sits there. It flicks out a little bit, and that just rotates it ever so slightly in your hand. And what it's resulting is the trigger finger going up more. It's lifted up high. If you look at the size of the L1 buttons, they've essentially doubled the size of the L1, R1 buttons. And now your finger has to go up that little bit higher to reach to it. And combining the sort of your fingers doing the splits and then the force feedback, hello arthritis in my index fingers. If I play for more than an hour with the DualSense 5, with the feedback on weak, I'm talking the controller is turned down to its minimum.
Yeah.
And if I play for an hour, I wake up the next day and I can feel it in my index fingers.
Given Troy does play a lot of games.
I do play a lot of games, and I've been playing a lot of games since I was 6. So you could argue there are many decades of wear built up in my fingers, but still I can play the Xbox. Where is it? My favourite, the paddles on the back of the Elite Series 2, because I've remapped L1, R1. I've been doing this forever. So my trigger fingers never lift up. So back to the point here, my fingers sit down. It's super comfortable, which is what this allows me to do, and it's always down. And then I'm using my index fingers underneath to access the L1. I never have to lift them up, and my hands never get tired, and the arthritis never flies up.
So a question I could ask, going back to a previous podcast we did, you did say the DualSense 5 was the best controller you've ever used.
Yes.
Are you still saying that?
No. No. It's not worth the profit loss assessment. Great personalized feedback it feels fantastic when it works. But is that worth the price of admission of arthritis in your fingers? No. Hell no, it's not. Bring me what I want is DualShock.
DualShock.
I want the DualShock 5. Give me back my tiny little L1 buttons. Give me that smaller profile, because I can still play on this for hours on end.
Yeah.
No worries. So just give me the exact same one, give it a number 5, and it's game over. Until PlayStation does that, I can't play for longer than an hour per day. That's my limit. But on Xbox...
Well, thankfully, with all the moves Xbox making, it looks like you've got no reason to leave the Xbox until Sony brings out an exclusive game. So
wait for Sony's exclusive games and the DualShock 5 so you can avoid the arthritis fingers, and you'll be away. At that point, jump onto the PlayStation. But until then, it's all Xbox.
Right. So if we had to score these consoles for their first 6 months, half a year, so what are we giving them? Let's go PlayStation. Let's base it off, the games they've got out, the games you're playing, the controller, the services they get providing.
I've been very I've been very harsh on Sony, but honestly, they haven't done much wrong. It's just that Xbox have done so much better.
That's right.
I think the PlayStation 5 is a solid 8, maybe an 8.5.
Yeah.
The Xbox Series X is a 10.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah.
It's a 10. Well, with this controller, because, and that's the extra cost, was 250 Australian, I think, the extra cost. If you didn't have the Elite and you still had to lift your fingers up, I can't speak to the arthritis factor, but I think it'd be fine.
The only thing I could say that Sony does have, obviously, is that exclusive games. Xbox is in the future. They've got plenty of developers making games. Until those games come out, we don't know what they've got. So at the moment, it is very good for backwards compatibility. It's very good for third-party games. We don't really have that big flagship Microsoft title yet. Halo.
Where is it?
That's it. That'll be end of the year, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
But once again, I don't believe it.
We don't know. So I would only dock a point for sort of what we don't have just yet in terms of games. What we do have, I think, looking forward, I can easily give it a 9.95. If we can start seeing those first-party games come out, Halo, Fable, Perfect Dark's on its way, all these other developers that they've bought up are making games. Bethesda's making games. We know Bethesda make good games. All these are exclusive, most likely to Xbox.
So it's a 9.5 for Xbox. Where are you on PlayStation?
I'd probably go about 8.85 as well.
Yeah, okay.
I'd probably play the Xbox probably around the same amount of time as the PlayStation 5, but just in terms of the Game Pass value for money and games, I've got 40 games saved to my hard drive on the Xbox.
Yeah.
I've got 6 saved on the PlayStation 5.
And you can bet none of those are Call of Duty because you'd have the 4.
You are correct, sir. I have Call of Duty on PlayStation 5. It is not on my hard drive. I cannot afford to put it on there.
Yeah, that is a serious overhead these days. That's going to do it for today's Let's Discuss. Where does the console sit for you? What do you rate the consoles? Where are you standing? Have you committed yet? Are you in? Are you out?
Can you get one?
Can you get your hands on one?
That's another issue with these consoles. People haven't been able to get them, but if you can, let us know.
Very true. Until then, guys, please check out the rest of the channel. We've got live Let's Plays Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sunday night, 8 p.m. Australian Eastern, right here. YouTube.com/GeekAloud. Like it, subscribe it.
You'll never miss it.
Oh, my God.
Happy New Year!
Old Uncle Donkey.
Donkey.